Hello, I'm Adele Hast, and I'm Malcolm's wife, and I've had the interest and the experience of being along as he and Dan were working on the Vesalius translation and all its ramifications for almost 2 decades. And as a professional historian myself, I'm always interested in how people do research and what kind of sources they have to use and how they interpret them. And so coming out of the humanities, something like this in the science and in anatomy was very different. And I saw, of course, he's doing research by using the original material, the original book, other materials written about it, what the parts of the body are called today. But then I watched one aspect of his trying to figure out what are the parts of the body that Vesalius was mentioning, and in order to be able to label them in today's labeling. And beyond the regular sources you think of in research, he also used an artifact. And the artifact, particularly in the work on the bones, was the human body itself. And he actually had bones. We did have human bones in our home, which he'd gotten from the lab. And he would use a particular bone, looking for a particular part, number 1 or 2, or whatever Vesalius used as a label, and say, now what is it that he was talking about? And I would see him move them around and finally figure out what part of the body is that. So to me, this was an interesting and unusual source for doing historical research. And of course, this is the part that interested me too, beyond the anatomy itself, the fact that this was a study in history. So this is a book not only for physicians or for people interested in anatomy, but also for people who are interested in the history of medicine, and particularly the history of Renaissance medicine. And so from this book, you can go beyond the medicine into Renaissance writing. It really gives you a very large concept of what the subject is beyond the actual subject matter of anatomy. And so I went beyond Vesalius, but what does it mean in the field of history? And so this was very important to me, and it'll be interesting to see once people start using the book about ways in which they will then use this book in anatomy to go beyond it to talk about history. What's the perception of the anatomy you're getting in the Renaissance, and what does this tell you about Renaissance perception and Renaissance writing? And so this was a most interesting part to me, and very interesting as far as what's involved in doing a book like this. And of course, it's like anything else, it becomes a part of your family. You know, when you do something like this for this many years, it really involves all of your activities. And when you say, well, now we're going to see what publisher we can find, that's a whole range of material that you have to deal with. When finally they made the relationship with Karger, which has turned out to be really wonderful, and I was a little part of it because I was able to go to Basel, Switzerland, when Karger actually announced the publication and also announced some support for it. So for me, this has been a most wonderful experience. Has ups and downs like anything else, but someone maybe will write a memoir. I always say as a historian that some people can take these stories and write them as fiction and do a good job of it, but I can't do that. I have to always have it as what really happened with footnoting, and I don't know if at this point I want to start footnoting their experience, but it was wonderful it's been wonderful to observe, and I'm looking forward to the next steps as the book becomes published.